bad bitch, I'm a bad bitch, one.
And I didn't click echo cancellation.
Oh, I always thought it was interesting that like none of us have mics, but all of our audio seems to be
perfect.
Pretty decent, so.
Yeah, there's actually a pretty great app to do this. I didn't know this existed until Michael started doing his.
Yeah, I was ready to get a mic and everything. So
yeah, there we go. It's better.
Is that better? Am I good?
Yeah. Are you
okay,
good?
Sweet. Yeah.
Okay. Sweet.
So much better. I can't stand like if I'm ever on the phone or something with somebody and I can hear myself echoing back, I get so like I don't know, like I cannot concentrate.
Yeah, it's the worst. I can't do it either.
Yeah.
Welcome back. I think we're good now.
Yeah, we're good. We are good.
Well, hello. Happy Saturday evening, everybody.
Yes.
Or afternoon. I guess it's a little earlier for some of you guys, but well, thank you. Thank you for hopping on, Alexis, and taking the time to just come chat with us. We don't do a... Go ahead.
I said no problem.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Honestly, if you wanted to just kind of give a quick intro as to who you are, kind of what you do in bodybuilding, just to give some people who may not know who you are, if that's possible, kind of what you do.
I am Alexis Nicole. I'm a IFBB wellness pro. I am an active competitor still. That's what I do full time. I coach wellness and bikini, and I'm a posing coach for wellness and bikini as well.
Heck yeah. And failed to mention you are a wellness Olympian.
Yes.
Top 10 wellness Olympian in 2024, which is super exciting. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How was that experience? I mean, I know you've obviously, I think your first Olympia was 23, was it not? Or have you done more? It's second. Right?
Yeah. So yeah, I've just done 2. And I mean, this past year was much better because the first year I didn't even make it to finals. So not a great feeling. But yeah, this past year has been probably the smoothest that I've ever prepped. And like my off seasons have gone, it's just everything's fired way better. The background is we've got a puppy and it's playing.
She's so cute, by the way. I saw like your picture.
I was gonna say we have to show
posting. Oh my God.
And that's it's a pig. I'm gonna take it from her because it like
she's like, what, Mom? No, it's my fun toy.
I traded it.
Noise. I love it. That's so cute. Well, congratulations on that. That must be exciting.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a long trip because we went to Martin had some stuff to do with the Detroit Pro. So we went there, and then we went from Detroit to Wyoming to get the dog. And then from Wyoming back to Texas.
Oh my gosh.
That's a crazy trip.
That's like a fun little trip.
It was fun for sure.
So this is like a question, but did you fly or was this driving?
Yeah, we flew.
Okay, good.
Oh, you flew. I thought it was a little road trip, so you could pick the dog.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't think Martin in prep for like 20 hours in a car, I don't think would be.
Yeah.
It's so funny because like Ben, I feel like prefers to drive. Like if he's in prep, it's like, no, let's drive. Because he'd rather just have everything like in the car rather than like having to fly with it.
So that's how I am. But I think like Martin's size is not ideal. Like he doesn't fit in a car seat very well and he doesn't fit on the plane, but at least the plane is shorter amount of time.
True.
Yeah, true.
Because that's what he complains about. Because I prefer driving. Like until this last year, I would fly like once a year. And now it's like everywhere we go, we fly.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I feel like all the time, just like in and out of the airport too. It's like it ends up being like
it's not
if it's fly or drive, it's like an all day thing.
Yeah, if it's like 5 hours or less, it's the same amount of time because you have to get there early and check your bags, and you can only have certain stuff. And like, I don't like the rules. So I'm a flying girl by preference.
Really, yeah. Yeah, we've definitely, like I said, bodybuilding has kind of like given me the ability to travel and do a little more traveling. And I definitely feel like we're more well-versed in an airport than I was like 2 years ago. You know,
definitely.
It's so much less intimidating. And I'm never like, I don't know, I feel like we can just like get in, do our stuff, get there, and not necessarily like have to worry or stress. And we always try to keep everything pretty small, I guess, like travel light, and you know, have a check, not try to deal with check bags. Yeah, you're already saying like, no, that's not a thing.
No, that's not me. I have my stuff, and then I've gotten Martin kind of trained to take his CPAP like as a third piece because it's a medical device. So then I can put my other stuff in his bag because he likes to limit to one checked bag each person.
Yeah, the less they have to bring, the better. But I mean, especially it's both being bodybuilders, you know, having to bring everything with you and making sure that you've got at least like the basic stuff to make you comfortable wherever you're going. And definitely, like we actually just dealt with a CPAP situation, and Michael was stoked because he got like the little medical card or whatever. But of course he forgot it at home, so he just ended up shoving it into a bag. But it's funny, just like the things that add up over time with what you got to bring, or honestly sometimes how efficient you can get with it too. Like, oh, you know what, like whatever, I'll buy freaking Tupperware wherever we end up going, you know, or something.
I've gotten that down, and like I've consolidated some, but I'm a very much like just in case person. Like I always want to bring like one nice-ish dress or something in case we have to go to a dinner or something. And like what if I need this? But then I take my makeup and never wear it.
Exactly that.
Oh yeah. I'm the same way with makeup. I've like found myself wearing makeup less and less. Like the older I've gotten, I feel like you would think you would use it maybe a little more, but you know, I barely ever wear makeup anymore. I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, if I'm feeling like usually my go-to is like eyebrows and mascara now. And I feel like my face is done and I'm good. I don't want to put anything else on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's usually what I do. If I even do that in the morning, it is just like throw some, you know, gel into the eyebrows, make them not all going every direction. Yeah. Just lashes and good to go. It's so crazy how much that has changed over the years, going from like doing, I don't know, like an hour and a half of like a full face, like makeup and hair, to just, I walk out the door sometimes with nothing, and maybe I didn't even brush my hair and I just throw my, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I don't even know how to do it anymore. Like when we're going somewhere where I do need to look presentable, I'm like,
I haven't done
it's
this.
almost overwhelming. Like, how much do I need to do? What's acceptable to get away with?
Yeah. And I also feel like I don't see myself the same in makeup as when I did, you know, 4 or 5 years ago. Now I feel like putting on like eyeliner and maybe like even like a nude palette or something, I feel like overly done up, you know?
Yeah.
So with flying, do you guys, I'm just curious if Martin requires or needs to fly like first class or plus, or you guys, you know, sticking it out in the coach?
No, so we just ride an economy usually, but I'm probably the more bougie one because I would rather pay the extra $20 and pick my seat than to be stuck, because he will let them do random, and if you do random, you're guaranteed a middle seat.
Yeah, for sure.
So then it's like a terrible situation because him in the middle seat puts me in the window, like up against it, because he can't be in the other guy's seat, or vice versa. And then I'm like here in the middle, like
Yeah.
Not
When
loving
we
it.
went to Prague, we did get the like the premium economy, which is like their version of first class is like the lay down seats. So it's like domestic first class, and there's more room, and that I felt like a princess.
Yeah. Like what that little difference made when we just recently went to Puerto Rico, and as like a treat, like the night before or whatever, or a couple nights before, like picking our seats and stuff, I was like, you know what, I'll just spend like $80 and get all three of us like just like the next step up, because like I know how much he hates like just being cramped and stuffed and can't stretch his legs and stuff. And it wasn't a super long flight, so it wasn't, it wouldn't have been terrible either way, but we flew Delta, and I chose a seat like right behind the bathroom. But honestly, Delta is super nice. I like
Delta. They're just expensive.
And that's kind of like what I've gathered looking at like ticket costs and everything like that. But so worth it with this like upgrade. And honestly, again, it wasn't that much per seat. It was like an extra $20-$30, I think, a seat. And we had like, he could literally just like fully stretch out his legs,
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm not like, I can't go to sleep on flights unless I'm like exhausted from a trip. So I like to have enough room that I can pull my computer out and get stuff done, because I can't like sleep like this.
Yeah. So terrible.
I fall asleep so easy on planes. Like I will literally be the person that's falling asleep before the flight even takes off.
That's Martin. He's like puts his little earbuds in to sleep. I'm like, hey, and then he's got to take it like if he's annoyed with me because I'm trying to talk to him.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know if it's just like the sound or what, but yeah, it's like before it even takes off. I've literally like woken up and my head was like resting on the guy next to me, like a total stranger. Yeah.
It happened though. He's like, this poor sweet girl. I was just so tired.
I'm sure they were okay with it.
Yeah. So, are you the type of person that can just like sleep anywhere? Like, could you fall asleep in like a noisy room or something like that? Alyssa, no.
Maybe not a noisy room, but yeah, I mean, I'm the type of person that's going to fall asleep. Like if I'm tired and we're going to try to watch a movie, like I'll be out in like the first 5 minutes, or I've like literally fallen asleep in mid conversation. Like we'll be like talking. Yeah. And then he'll like reply. And then I'm kind of like, oh, what? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. It depends. Like if I'm that tired, yeah, I could do that.
It'd be like that.
Are you good nappers then?
What?
Can you just like take a nap in the middle of the day?
I could, but I don't nap though.
Yeah.
I'm not really, I don't know why, but I like to like try to get as much done as I can in the day. So I don't like to let myself nap, but I definitely could.
Yeah.
I definitely could. Yeah.
I like to calculate it. I'm like, how much do I need to get done? Do I have time? And I'll only do it if I'm like exhausted. And if I lay there for like 10 minutes and I can't fall asleep, I'm getting up.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm the same way with a nap. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like if I take like a midday nap, every time I wake, it's always like panic dreams that I have. Like they're anxiety dreams or panic dreams, or I'm trying to get out of somewhere, or I can't get somewhere quick enough. And I always just wake up so disheveled and like, what day is it? What time is it? Where am I? Sort of. But Michael certainly is somebody that could just fall asleep at the drop. Like we literally kind of like what you're saying, Alyssa, we'll be having full-on conversation and like he'll say something and the next breath is a snore. And I'm like,
like men be doing that. Like men can just
the same way. Or like he has probably at least 2 naps a day. Like he wakes up, especially in prep, he wakes up at like 5 or 6 and we'll come out and have coffee. So then when I get up, he's up and we'll have coffee together. And then has his first meal and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go lay back down. It's like a pre-training nap and then a post-training nap. And I'm like,
yeah.
I feel like you're that big and just carrying that much weight, like you're just tired. You must be tired all the time, you know.
There's like this nice period that's like 8 weeks out where he's like a functioning human, where it's like not lean enough that he is exhausted and not so big that he can't do anything. Yeah. So it's like that period is nice, but the extremes either way, it's like.
But then it's also like, it's not like they can really do anything at like 10, 8 weeks out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, actually, like Martin's he's very ADHD. So he's very like task oriented. And when he gets onto something, he's obsessed with it until it's done. So like we moved to Texas when he was like 10 weeks out, I think. We tried to get here before he was like deep in prep, so we weren't moving in the middle of it. And then he like tore the garage apart, and now it's a complete posing room. Like it's got flooring, mirrors on the walls. There's a tilted mirror up on the ceiling, like the whole thing. And he did it in like 3 days.
Wow. That's crazy. That's better than my gyms.
That's awesome.
That is super awesome. So you guys, so that was this year that you guys did that, right? You just moved to Texas?
Yeah. So we just, we officially finished and got here right after the Arnold. We made the last move.
Sweet. Heck yeah. And where was that from? Where were you guys originally?
We were in Stuart, Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was fine there. We could train at the Raw Gym and Revive. But it's like, we're both from small towns. So it was very just busy, and like people weren't as friendly. Like we're in the Houston area, but we're like North Houston, and it's a small town. And like our neighbors talk to us, and I gave them bread, and it's like, it's nice here.
That has like always been my dream of like just being next to neighbors where I can go over and be like, can I have a cup of sugar or something like that, whatever it is. And,
yeah, I've always been like, you introduce yourself to your neighbors when you move into a new place. And in Florida, I was like, when do you want to go talk to our neighbors? And he was like, I don't think they do that here. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Florida's gotten really weird. It's like, because I grew up in Florida, and it's definitely changed like over the years for sure. Like traffic is terrible. I mean, in the Tampa area, I don't know how it was for you guys, Alexis, over there, but it is awful. Like people are so aggressive. I mean, so entitled. It's really bad. Really bad.
Yeah. Here, everyone drives fast. Yes. And like where we're at, it's just like 1 lane roads until you get to like city. We're like around a lot of like pipelines and stuff, which is fine. So, but like if you get stuck behind a tractor, then you're just stuck. But it's not like sitting in traffic that you're going like 2 miles an hour. That drives me nuts.
I hate that. I would rather take an alternate route that would take me longer.
Yes.
Traffic, bumper to bumper, going fucking 2 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Not that. It just gives me, I don't know, it's just like an anxiety thing of just like, I just want to get to wherever I'm going. I don't want to sit here. I hate it.
Yeah. A lot's changed in Florida. It's not really the same Florida that I feel like I grew up in. It's definitely a lot busier. People are not as friendly. Traffic's awful. It's
Are you guys in Tampa now?
Yeah. Well, so we're in Spring Hill, which is like an hour north of Tampa. So it is like a smaller town. It's like a suburb of Tampa, really. But even this is like growing. So, because I feel like Tampa's getting so crowded that people are like looking for kind of like the outskirts of Tampa, and now they're like kind of like flooding into this area. So it's getting busier here too, but it's a lot more. It's still a lot more of that small town feel than living in Tampa. I would never live right in Tampa.
No, I could never live in a big city anywhere.
Yeah. I don't think I'd super love that either.
So you said you're from town, Alexis. Where were you born?
I was born in Culpeper, Virginia, which is like kind of near Charlottesville. There's not like a big city that's really nearby it. Not as like there's a lot of farmland. So like the population was kind of high, like 5,000 when I lived there, which is even bigger. Like Martin's hometown was like 1,500.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that is super small.
But it's nice because like when you go back there, like you mostly know everyone and like people want to catch up, and it's very like inviting.
Yeah. Listen, I feel like you either, when you grow up in those situations, you either love that and like that's cozy to you and like it feels like home to you, or you completely like run the opposite direction and you're like, I don't want to be small town. I don't want to be here. I want to get out somewhere big and like see the world or something.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like kind of a mix. Like I wouldn't want to go back and live there because like nobody leaves there, so you get stuck.
Yep.
But I do like that feel where like I'm living somewhere else, but it's still similar in like how people respond to each other, and they're just like they're courteous and they just care a little bit more than like in a busier area where it's just constantly go and nobody like has time to stop and talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like, I don't know, people in Maine are friendly for the most part, but I feel like there's not a lot of like, I would say it's like not a lot of community, but at least not from when I remember like growing up. But I feel like that's kind of probably a little bit everywhere, right? Like everywhere, like moving faster, things are, everyone's like so in a hurry to get to wherever. And yeah, I don't know. It definitely feels a lot different as an adult than it did like as a kid, I guess. And I'm curious to know if like my parents also kind of felt the same, or if it's also just like, nope, like it's not at all what it used to be. And I don't know, people just don't take the time to stop anymore, I feel like.
Yeah,
so it is nice.
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with like the phones, social media. It's like everything is just so much like online now that nobody's like really like in the moment. What they're doing, they're not being present with anything. So yeah.
I definitely struggle with that for sure. Even just those moments of like, I don't even know why I opened my phone and why I'm scrolling right now. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely could have found something so much more productive to do with my time. But yeah, I mean, I just think that's kind of what's been like bred into today's society of like constantly needing something like that endorphin, you know what I mean, release, or just like something to kind of keep yourself busy. No one can be bored anymore. No one's bored anymore.
Yeah.
It's like daydreaming or thinking of like, you know what I mean? Like random stuff as a kid or whatever. And I just feel like people just don't do that anymore. But I'm always curious if, I don't know, I feel like in bodybuilding, a lot of the times, like people came from like a very like competitive background. So I'm just obviously small town. Did you have like a lot of sports growing up at all? Or were you competitive or in anything competitive growing up?
So not really until high school. I grew up really poor. So there was not any extra to do anything. So that like, even like Parks and Rec stuff cost like entry fees and stuff. So we couldn't do any of that. And we lived so far from anything. Like my grandma raised me, and she worked and she wouldn't get home till like 8 p.m. So unless I could like ride the bus home with someone, even to go to like a school dance, I didn't get to do a whole lot. And then in high school, I lived with my aunt. We lived kind of like in Fredericksburg, which is more like Northern Virginia. And so then I was a cheerleader in high school. I did track and soccer, and I wasn't like an all-star at anything, but I was like decent at most stuff that I tried. So I could like at least participate in things, but I was always competitive. So if I ever got into something, I did it to like my full ability. I'd research it and figure out how I could be better. And like, we would push our resources as much as we could. But I didn't do anything crazy.
Yeah.
And then I got into pageants in high school, and that's what I did until I did my last pageant in the end of 2018. And my ex then was competing already, and like everyone kind of in our circle was competing, and I was just too short and muscular for pageants. Like it wasn't going to work. Like, I mean, you need to be like 5'7" and be able to walk in like New York Fashion Week and stuff in order to win that kind of stuff. So I finally realized that. And then I was like, okay, well, my old coach was one of our friends, Nelson. And he'd been in my ear about competing. So he was like, you should give it a try. Like, I think you do really well. And I was like, I'll try bikini. And I did my first bikini competition. I started working with him in January of 19, and I did a show in July. And that whole prep, I like hated my life. I was like, why do people do this? This is horrible. I'm working night shift, and like, if you guys are nurses, there are snacks always, like they're hidden in drawers and stuff because they're so busy. So there's not like any meals, but there's always like stuff around. So I was used to that, and like having to pull back and not be able to like participate in stuff was not something that I really enjoyed doing. So I hated it. And then I did my first show and like gave it a couple days, and I was like, well, let me do one more. And then of course, like everyone, I was hooked, and then here we are now. But yeah, it was like bodybuilding wasn't something that I like dreamed about. And sometimes I feel bad saying that because so many competitors are like, this is something I want to do since I was 18. And I was 24 before I even like considered it being a thing.
I feel that so much because like after I went to national, I might have even said something on here like, it's weird like seeing all these girls like, oh, this is my dream, and they're still like trying to turn pro, and it's like I don't think I ever thought this through. I don't think
even when I started, I was like, I don't want to be pro because I don't want all the things that go with that. Like I was very aware of because again, like I want to do everything to my full potential at least. And I knew what professional athletes needed to do. And like my coach was very like, he doesn't want to work with competitors that are going to halfway do things, and which I don't blame him. So I was like, okay, well, if this is this intense now, I'm just going to do it at the amateur level. And like, I have no desire. And then slowly as I fell into the sport, like fell in love with it as I was doing it, that kind of changed, obviously.
Yeah. That's cool to hear someone else say that.
Even in our house, like Martin was like, I'm going to be a professional bodybuilder since he was 10.
Yeah.
So like, he knew everyone, he followed everyone, he watched all the things. And I'm like, just in the last couple of years, found podcasts and stuff that I was like, okay, like, let me dive into this a little bit deeper.
Yeah. I started later too. I didn't start till I was 27. And it was from like an ex that was like trying to compete as well. And like, I did dance growing up. So I was like, well, I guess like if I can't really dance anymore, you know, like this is kind of similar. Like you go on stage, you know, whatever, off like a glittery bikini. Sure, let's do it. And I was just like, why not? And I saw like, I remember I was like, I got into like social media and stuff like Instagram pretty late. So, but I started like looking up stuff on Instagram, and I found Dana Lynn Bailey, and I was like, she looks cool. And I was like, but she's like way too big, you know. It was that like thought process back then. And then same as you guys.
And then
like,
you went into
here we are now. Yeah. Exactly. So it just I feel like it was also for me like kind of evolving like as I got into it. It wasn't like, oh, I've always wanted to do this.
The same thought. Like of course, I mean, when I was in pageants, my legs were too muscular then. So I was like running 5 or 6 miles a day to try to keep them down. And I was even vegan for a while to try not to build muscle.
Gosh. Yeah. That's crazy. Wow.
So like looking back, I'm like, my genetics were trying to do something. And I was like,
So when you contacted Nelson in January of 2019, had you like been training like in a bodybuilding style prior to that, or he just kind of was like, let's just do this?
No. So for pageants, I had a trainer that I would work with like 3 times a week, but we weren't trying to build muscle because I had a muscular base from like competitive cheer and stuff. So we were really trying to like keep like almost like sculpt it, like get my legs to a shape that was aesthetic on stage, and like lose some body fat because there was a bikini portion, and really just like toning. But it was 3 days a week. It was in like a personal gym, not in a regular gym where I trained on my own. And I picked Nelson's brain for like 2 months because the pageant was in November. And then I realized at that show, like, this is not going to happen. So I needed to find something different, similar to like your dance thing. I was like, I have to do something.
Yeah. You need like that outlet.
Yeah. So I was like, what does this look like? Like, what would my schedule look like? How would I do this around work? And I'd been asking him a ton of questions. He was like, well, let's just start like an off season and get you into the lifestyle. And then that lasted like 2 months. And I was like, okay, well, I need a goal. Because if I'm not, like, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know bodybuilding that much. I don't love it that much. So like, I need to work towards, like, to me, the epitome was like getting on stage. So I picked a show in July and that's what we shot for. So getting into like learning how to train, especially like with intensity and like to failure and stuff, was very much of a learning curve.
I would say that was gonna be my next question, is like, obviously you had had that like personal training aspect and somebody with you there, but I mean, obviously we know like that is probably a lot different from like bodybuilding style training. So like that transition, how long would you say, in hindsight now, like when would you say you were like, no, okay, like I was definitely training at a bodybuilder by this point? Like knowing what failure was, kind of really knowing like your limits and kind of where to push, where to pull back, things like that.
Probably towards the end of the year, because I don't think it took me an insane amount of time, because I did so before I got into pageants, like as an adult in college, I would go to the gym and train with like, there was like a group of 6 of us that would go and like figure out what we were doing as we were doing it.
Yeah.
And I always liked being able to move a lot of weight. So I wasn't afraid to get under a lot of weight and try to make it happen. But like learning form and connecting with muscle and like hitting a target area, I didn't have any concept of. So it probably took me to the end of 2019 into 2020 learning all of that. But I also, like, my ex was living and breathing bodybuilding, and Nelson was still actively trying to compete. So I had them, when I wasn't working, I had them to go to the gym and like kind of jump into sets with. So I did have a lot of hands-on still with learning that side of things.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely helps. I know I've said it several times, but if I didn't have Michael when I did, I feel like it would, especially like here in Maine, like there's no real guidance on, you know, bodybuilding or how to really train like a bodybuilder. And I absolutely owe all that I kind of know and just like, you know, learning the different styles of training, really to him. Because I have I didn't
realize how much of a blessing that was because I had it. So like it was just I just tapped into those like resources that I had, and we all worked together and it was fine. And then when I would train with other people, that's when I kind of realized like, oh, you don't know how to do this, but it's because nobody's showed you. Like kind of learned in hindsight, like if I didn't have those people, I wouldn't have even really known what bodybuilding was until probably more recently, where it's more mainstream. Then it was like, so I have my own podcast with a bikini competitor that's a friend of mine. And we started ours because there weren't anything for girls. Like there was Fuad's podcast that I listened to, but like that's all that I could find. And like I feel like back then also all of the tricks were like kind of secrets. Like one time I used this stuff called vasoburn that like
they use it.
And I posted it one time and a girl was like, don't share your secrets. And I was like, you using it's not going to do anything compared to me. Like, I don't understand.
I view that stuff too. It's like, you can have my whole training plan if you want. Like,
if you can't execute like what's going to happen.
It's not going to look the same. Like, it doesn't matter.
And I think I really like where like the sport as far as like social media and stuff has gone since then. Because again, I got more into social media with bodybuilding because that's where I was like trying to hunt things down, and there's not studies on it, or there weren't then, of information of like how to do XYZ to get on stage. Like you had to like pick and choose information that you got from random sources and kind of put it together and form your own thing. So I think it's helpful, and that's why the sport is growing now, is there are a lot more resources.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, sometimes too, I feel like it kind of still gets into this like convoluted area of you really don't know what information, because I feel like sometimes there's a lot of information out there. And I often find that people are like I have no idea where to start with it, like kind of where I should focus or like where I should pull the information from. Cause it's like, I'm sure we see it all the time, like people focusing on things that are just like, well, like, have you really, nailed this portion of it to really make benefit of what you're doing now? You know what I mean? Whether that be training or supplementation or, whatever it is. But I certainly have noticed that it is a lot more or a lot less like gatekeeping. And I don't know, I feel like for some reason, like obviously it's a competitive sport, but I feel like, I don't know, back in like 2018, 19, like it was very, I don't know, I don't think it was necessarily the coaches that were like coaches against coaches, but it was like, I don't know, the perception of the athletes or the spectators of like, oh, it's like this big, like, I don't know, like brawl. And it's like, it's not like me against me on stage. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I do feel like there was that, like, I mean, I even remember putting like Team Nelson J in my bio, and like I would follow all of my teammates and then not try to follow other people. So I guess that was somewhat of a culture, because that's not the kind of person that I am. But I felt like it was like going against my team if I was doing something that other people were doing, that my coach, like kind of meshing information. And now it's like, talk the opposite, like get as much as you can and then figure out what works for you.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you feel about that concept of like, do you think that bodybuilding is like a team sport, or is it just you, your coach, and your team is your people around you? Like, where do you?
I mean, that's what I consider the team part of it. Like, I do think it's a team sport, but I think it's the people behind the scenes that get you there. Like, of course, your coach has a heavy influence on that. They're giving you the plan and then you execute it. But like my journey from when I first started to where I am now, there's no way that I could have done it without people helping me. Like, there were times where like so I worked night shift and then I switched to days, and I was like, this is going to help my bodybuilding. And then COVID happened and there was no money. And then I started travel nursing. And then like, that was a nightmare trying to compete during that and like being all over the place. So there were the nights where I was like coming home from North Carolina, driving 2 hours and then doing cardio at Nelson's house. Cause I was like, if I go to Planet Fitness, there's no way I'm doing this. Like, I'm going to be on the elliptical for 10 minutes and I'm going to talk myself out of it. Or like just the people like cheering you on or helping you, making things happen, sponsorships and stuff. I think all of that kind of comes into the circle of how you get to stage. So like, yeah, it's you on stage by yourself, but like for me, there's no way I could have done it alone.
And make your team, put together your team.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like, definitely the people in, like you said, like your coach, like significant other, like, all of those people definitely like play a big role. The thing that I don't love, and I don't know, you guys might disagree, is like you said, if you're on a team, like when you were on like Team Nelson or whatever, like I love being friends with like people in the industry, but so like the coach I work with now, like I am friends with like other competitors that he works with. But I get a little bit too in my head. I'll be like, well, this person's doing this and then I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? Because like, it's just, you get like, you're talking to people and then you're kind of like wondering things. And it's, I like to just focus on myself rather than like be so like in the know on like what my teammates are like maybe doing or not doing, stuff like that. Like it just, I don't love to hear all the differences, and I'm like, I just want to focus on my thing. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
I used to get the same way, especially I think the benefit now is my coach, he lives in Austria and most of his competitors or at least most of his female competitors are European. So I don't really know a ton of other females that he coaches personally on the level where I'm like, what's your cardio like? Or like we're comparing things.
Yeah.
But I did do that a lot with my prior coach, because there were a lot of like he had a ton of wellness towards the end of me working with him. And like when I would first start, I had a friend, we just had very different body types. Like she did minimal cardio and would get food bumps all the time. And I was like the person who was starving doing 2 hours of cardio. And I did not have a comprehension of like, people are just different and your bodies just work different. So I was like very much constantly like, why is Lindsay doing XYZ? Like, and she won't get mad at me for saying that because she knows that I was like that. And be like, why does she get
more food too?
So often? And then like, you're just taking all my food away. Like, I don't understand.
That's like literally how I was last year. Cause like same thing. Like one of my friends was the same way. Like she just needs more food, or she will like shrivel away. Where me, it's like what you just said. Same thing. You could like give me no food and all the cardio, and like I'm still gonna take forever to like lose fat. So it's just totally different. And it's like I can comprehend that, but then I feel like when you're in prep and you're like feeling kind of emotional about it, it's just like, like why can I not get like all these food bumps? Like, you know what I mean? So it can get in your head.
This is Callie.
Hi.
She's still jealous of the puppy.
Yeah.
So she needs attention sometimes.
How old is she?
She's 2 or 2.5.
She's still kind of puppy, you know, still a little girl.
Yeah, I mean, Martin and I are extremely different with that. If you guys don't know, he doesn't do cardio at all. He didn't do cardio at 1 step of cardio last year. And we just started prep and I'm already doing cardio. So the bike is in the living room now. So, I mean, at this point, I just know that it's just my gig. That's part of my way of getting to stage. But it's still like right now, comparatively, like last year we were on the same timeline for the majority of the year. Our shows were like 3 weeks apart at the beginning of the year, and then we did Olympia and Prague together. But this year we're opposite, so it's not as bad because I'm just now going into a deficit. So even when he was like getting refeeds, I could still participate in them. And then now when my food's gone, it won't be as bad because he won't be in prep. So even though his food will be high, it's like it won't bother me. But last year it'd be like, boss told me to get food. It was like 5 days in a row once that he was like, boss said to get a meal out. Boss said to get a meal out. So he's ordering DoorDash and I'm like,
oh yeah. That makes it hard.
That can definitely be tough. So I actually just made the switch to a coach because my boyfriend Michael coached me. So went through a moment or like preps of like him being in prep, coaching me through a prep. And it's just a lot of the times it definitely felt like a lot, I guess, or just kind of, I don't know, not that I wouldn't want to listen to him, but it's also like, I'm sure as we all know, like I would listen to somebody else probably better than I would listen to my significant other about telling me how to do it, you know what I mean? Just that innate, like, do I really? Are you sure? Do I really
I give prop to anyone who has successfully gotten to a show with their significant other coaching them. Because I've never even given it the thought of this might be okay. Like it's always been a clear, we're not doing that. Because I can't compartmentalize enough to where like, at least if boss drops my food, I can like bitch at home for a minute and it doesn't impede the working like relationship. Whereas like, I think if my significant other was making adjustments, I don't know that I could not like take emotion out of it.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how this prep will differ from others. I mean, for those like exact reasons, you know, it's not like I can sit there and kind of, you know, do the girl whine of like, oh, I have like 30 more minutes of cardio, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. And it'll just be nice to like have him just be like the supporter, you know what I mean? And be able to take the step back and not have the pressure of getting you to stage. And
and probably nice for him too to not have to worry about it.
Yeah, for sure. So I do feel really good about kind of taking that step.
Just be in the audience and cheer you on and like comfort you if you don't get what you want too. Like not feel like he made a bad call or something.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be really nice. But yeah, I mean, even just, you know, being a couple and both competing, you know, certainly can have its own challenges too. Like I can't imagine getting ready for the Olympia together. Maybe it was, you know what I mean? Maybe everything was like perfection and hunky-dory or whatever, but could you elaborate a little bit on that experience? Because I'm very curious about that.
So it actually was way smoother than I thought. Like I was a little nervous, especially because like I wanted to do well for myself. Like the year before, I was not happy with the package that I had on stage. I wasn't happy with my placing. Like the Olympia is the epitome of what we're trying to get to. And I felt like it was my worst ever. So like this past year, I put a lot of like pressure on myself as far as what my goals were. But then I was also very aware that like, this was his dream since forever. And it's his first Olympia, and he's projected to do friggin' well. So I was like, I don't want to impede his process at all, but I don't want to screw mine up. So it was like, I was anxious for it, but it worked. The prep itself was actually very smooth. It seemed like the areas that like I would kind of drop the ball on once you get more depleted and things get harder were areas that he was very good at picking up. So like
that's really nice.
Our strengths and weaknesses kind of were opposite, which was nice. But show was a lot of we've determined I need my people and he needs his people, because we can't be like fully supportive as far as like tasks and running around town and all of that stuff when it comes to like the Olympia, especially with all the appointments that you have and like sponsors coming into the mix and all of that. It makes it very hectic. But like being on the same timeline as far as prepping and going through it was really not bad at all.
It's good. Yeah. So it sounds like really show day was more where you kind of realize like, okay, this might take a little bit more kind of, you know, figuring out or fine tuning to kind of make it a little more seamless.
Yeah. And like, again, like that's where like our circle came into the play at the Olympia too, because we were both competing. So neither of us, like, you know, every show weekend there's like, oh, I forgot this, or I'm out of this and I need more bananas or whatever. And we had friends that I was just like, can you get us like more gallons of water and more bananas? Because we have to go to the athlete meet and greet, and like boss says 7 meals and I only have enough food for 5. And like just
those things,
those people on the outside that were able to like put the pieces together, it would have been such a stressful weekend otherwise. But yeah, just like, I think the part that I didn't like the most was like, I like seeing his peaking process, and like, it's super cool to see the things change, especially at that high of a level. But I'm like, I felt like I had to miss some of it in order to be where I needed to be, especially Olympia weekend, where like my prejudging's at the expo, but his prejudging's at my finals. So like having to miss certain pieces, or like he wanted to see me compete, but really he needed to be resting. So it was like trying to time things out perfectly so it wasn't affecting the physique. It was a lot of moving parts. And then finals, the way that they had originally written the schedule, men's was supposed to go on last. So I was like, gonna go on, do my finals, get into the audience and see him compete. And then they moved it to where men went on before wellness finals. So I'm like pumping up in front of a TV, and some lady's like, you can't be standing there. And I was like, well, I'm standing here. Like, just call me when it's time. Like, I know how this stuff works at this point. You don't need me right now. Just those things. But everything else went pretty smoothly. There weren't like any blow up fights or like you're on my nerves. Or if I did get into like leave me alone mode, he can read so well, and vice versa. So I'll just get quiet and he'll talk to me later, and it's like it matches well.
Balance,
I think having a partner that competes or has competed or has been in the industry is extremely helpful. I don't know. I know that there are some competitors whose significant other doesn't like has nothing to do with the sport other than like going to their shows and cheering them on. And I don't know how that dynamic works.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I haven't necessarily had such in-depth conversation with somebody that I knew that was a situation, because obviously I don't know otherwise either. So I feel like for me personally, like I don't know, like I've seen it so much as something that I share with Michael and that we had like this like passion for, and not that you obviously can't have, other connections or other things that you do with your significant other, but like where we know like it's such a huge part of like your day to day. Like it's not just the, time that it takes to prep. It's not just the show day. Like this is
like consumes your life.
But I mean, I certainly like there could very well be people that are like, I don't know, not like, I don't want to say like assistant, but you know what I mean? Like, oh, like this spouse like will help with the meals or something like that, or knows their significant others like meal planning, can help them prepare that, or enjoys being a part of that process or something. But I can't imagine not having a significant other or having a significant other that doesn't compete.
Yeah, I can't really imagine that either, because it's not only like if you have a significant other, even if they are helpful and like, helping you with your meals or whatever it is that you might need. Like Ben and I talk so much about bodybuilding too. So it's like, that's like so much of our conversation. And if you don't have somebody that can relate to it or understand where you're coming from, because they can like kind of get it, but if they've never done it, like they're just not going to.
Right. Like you learn with you over the years. Like I haven't been with someone who wasn't in the world, but like when I was working in the hospital, nobody knew what the heck I was doing. When I was like, I'm going to stop pageants and be a bodybuilder, the girls were like, don't turn into a man. Like, that's what they thought. And then like slowly over the years, they'd get excited. And like, we had this, it was like, I did labor and delivery, but the nursery unit was connected. Like it was all in one unit. So there was a screen in the nursery that they would put the shows on, like when I would compete.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So like they'd support me, and slowly over time they'd learn it. But still, if I was like venting about something, they'd be like, so you don't get carbs because why? Like, so like if you were talking about like something in depth that went on at a show, it would just be like way over their head. So I can't imagine how that would be at home. Like you wouldn't be able to talk. It would be very confusing.
It would just take so much experience, I feel like, to do or to like kind of get through. Like I can't just tell you this reason without explaining everything else that comes beforehand, and I really don't want to do that necessarily with people outside of my home, or just like out and about. You know what I mean? It gets exhausting, like having that conversation over and over with somebody who's not really in it. Not to put you on the spot, Jessica, but would you say that you would prefer somebody that has competed or is a current competitor versus dating somebody? What about if it was somebody that was, this is a good question for you, because I know very much how much you love like the training side of it. What if it was somebody that has never competed before, but is an avid person in the gym and likes to train?
Well, it's funny you ask me, because I was sitting here thinking to myself, like, yeah, they make great points, but I don't know that I'd want to date a bodybuilder either. And then I was like, well, each one of them are dating bodybuilders and they seem to get work. So maybe this is something I should start entertaining.
Like why you would
like if I didn't have bodybuilding to talk about, I'd be a very boring person to be around. And it's like you said, and it's like we said in the girl chat the other day too, like I don't want to explain like why I have to do these most basic trivial things that seem very silly to anybody, let alone someone that I have to live with. So so I don't know what but bodybuilders are looking better by the day, I tell you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious why initially your thought was like, I don't think I'd want to date somebody that competes. What would be your hold up there? Yeah.
When did I have that thought?
Oh, I thought you just said, you hear all them talk, I don't necessarily think I'd want to date a bodybuilder, but.
Well, to be honest with you, I just don't necessarily think I want to date anyone.
Sure.
That's fair.
Like the thoughts aren't running too deep here. I'm just kind of like, maybe I could consider this now that we're discussion. So
I was just curious. I just
Yeah,
thought that, I know
funny.
like how much you are, and like obviously we all are, but just being very, very much into your training and everything. If maybe it was somebody who was training,
yeah.
you think you could train with your significant other?
Me?
Yeah, like do you think like that could be your training partner, or do you think you'd have to keep that part separate?
I mean, as long as like I'm not stronger than them.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely would be. I feel like unless it was somebody that like was a strong or power lifter or something, you probably definitely would be.
Yeah,
Well,
like as long as they can hang, I think I'd
Yeah, because you're like crazy strong. So I feel like you might be stronger than most dudes, honestly. Yeah.
He's like deadlifting 4 plates. So
Yeah.
I think I definitely think I could for sure.
Yeah. Do you
What, deadlift 4 plates?
Well, that
Yeah.
Do you and Martin ever get any sessions in together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If Brett's not around, okay,
Yeah.
so I have to compete with Brett. But yes, I only train legs, so
Right.
maybe like twice a month we can make it fit because of scheduling. It's more beneficial for him to have a training partner that's more on his level. Like I'm not as strong as him.
Yeah.
So in my preps at the beginning of last year, where he was kind of coming out of prep as I was getting deeper into mine, he would come and push me at the end of mine. So he would like train with Brett and then come and push me. And that was really helpful. I like training legs with him, but it's a really long session because we have to keep taking plates off. And like I can keep up with most stuff, but like I'm not putting 12 plates on the leg press, and like I need my max is 7. So when we start getting to the top sets, it becomes kind of a pain back and forth. So I think doing it regularly would be difficult. But I'm similar probably with any training partner. I don't mind going through a training session where I'm teaching you something, but I don't want, or like teaching you how to train or whatever, but I don't want that to also be my session.
Exactly.
Like I want someone that can like match and push me during my sets, and I can push you during yours.
Yes.
And be similar on that level. So I could see that with a significant other as well, because I'm picky with training with other people.
Sure.
Because I also don't really want to be thinking. Like I go in with kind of a general plan of what I'm going to be hitting, and I'll like swap some movements out if I have to. But I don't want to lead the whole thing every time.
Sure.
Like I've been training with 2 guys lately, and like we might go an hour before we even say a word to each other, and it's just so nice to just like be on the same wavelength, and there's no like emotions, there's no like hey, you haven't said hi, are you mad? It's just
like, is everything okay? Yeah,
there's a job to do that we do. We can read each other's body language to figure out what they want on the machine. It's like perfect.
Like for the majority of my career, like I had that first year where I would try to get as many sessions in with my ex and my coach as much as I could so that I could learn. But then like once my schedule didn't allow that, I've trained solo for the majority of my bodybuilding career. So I think I also don't have a ton of skill with being tolerant of how like the differences of other people training. I don't really want to change what I know works for me.
Right.
But I also don't want that to impede your workout either. So I'd rather just train by myself most of the time.
Yeah, so it's interesting too. Just like how it works for an individual to, be successful in their training session. Because I mean, Michael and I have been training partners for a very long time. Like I don't remember, at least like training like a true like bodybuilder. Like I don't remember him not being there for training. But also run into the same situations where it's like, okay, like I'm done with my warm-ups and he still has 3 more warm-ups to go because we're adding, 5 more on the leg press or something. So like that gets a little tricky sometimes to balance, or like I feel like maybe sometimes like am I putting him at a disadvantage because he's trying to get through these warm-ups quicker, so that way we're not so, far apart. But I would say at least like now where he's at with his training, it's back to being a little bit more, I mean, certainly not like I'm putting up weight that he is, but it's not like such a huge discrepancy where it's like, I'm ripping off 5, 6, 7 plates or whatever. But I've also said like that has been my, not drive to get stronger, but like, I don't want to fucking rip off 5 plates in between sets. I want to do 2 plates or 3 plates. You know what I mean? Like, so that definitely helped push me, but
I think people forget about like, there's always the learning curve of training with someone. So one of my friends, she was also a travel nurse and she took a contract near where I was living. So for like a 12-week time span, we could be training partners for the majority of our workouts, but there's still, and like when I started training with Martin at the beginning, when he would push me, of like learning where your failure point is, and it will drive me insane if you start helping me before I need help. So, and I don't like that has to happen. Like that learning compartment has to occur, but I don't want to do that with a new person regularly.
Absolutely. It just takes so much from your workout. You know what I mean? And like you want to go in and like be dialed into your workout, and like Jess was saying with her training partners, like that's how it is with Michael and I too. Like a lot of times we don't talk at all through our workouts, and it's just like I know exactly when like he needs that extra, punch in the rep or whatever. And that did take like a lot of time, and he feels the same way of, it's not easy training with someone that's not me, just because he's not getting that proper spotting or, that push to failure or whatever. But I definitely feel like I've not struggled, I guess. Like obviously I need to work on things that maybe he doesn't necessarily need to work on. So it's like I've had to kind of maybe, last half of the workout, I go off and do my own thing, and then he's training like forms or something like that, But so we've like adapted a little bit that way. But I can at least say that I know I train well with somebody else, and I can't imagine training solo at this point. But I mean, who knows? Obviously, life happens. But
I think it's helped me. Like, I've learned a lot of like different ways to adjust things. Like when I was traveling, I very rarely had a consistent gym. I was always in a different place. So it's not like I knew like this one leg press is my favorite in this gym. I'd have to like get on it and do a couple warm-up sets of figuring out where my foot placement needs to be and like all of that. So I almost consider it like I've like bootleg learned some of it. Like, I don't always know the best cues to explain to you why I'm doing something, but I can feel that I'm hitting the right muscle. So like, that's why I'm doing it. And Martin uses a lot of different terminology that I don't even know. Or like he knows philosophy on why you're using something. And I'm like, I just need another leg exercise. Again, and I already used those two. So I'm using this one.
So honestly reassuring to hear, because like I say that all the time because like I want to start like doing more like social media content and stuff, but like I don't have the big brain. Like I don't know the words half the time. I don't really necessarily know why I'm doing something. I just know it feels good and I look better month after.
And like I can show you why it's good, but I can't really like explain to you in words what's
and I think that's like an important thing that kids or anybody getting started kind of like miss out on nowadays, is just kind of like learning just based on what feels right to you. It's like look so much up to the Instagrammers that are like, this is what you should do, that you like forget that you should have an opinion on like what feels good to your biomechanics too.
Yeah.
You know?
Or I think people think that there's just like, there's a technical way of how you have to do this. And like, I compare bodybuilding to nursing a lot because there's like the textbook way, and then there's like the gray area.
Yeah.
Really, that's how I practice mostly, where I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to do it this way, but I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to show you why. And I'm not really sure why it works better, but like it does. And so we're going to do it this way.
Yeah.
So like, I think in bodybuilding, if you can't learn to do that, you really hinder yourself from progress.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, that's a big thing because I coach a little bit on the side too. And I do get like some of these like very nuanced questions of like, you know, you're on the adductors. Do you sit up straight or do you lean forward a little bit? And it's like, I just honestly
depends which one.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There are like all these questions like, how do you feel about XYZ exercise? And it's like, I don't know, try it and see if you like it. Like,
yeah.
I might lean forward a little bit in this machine, but that's only because I know that like I'm getting the burn in my glute med or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Upright to do that, then like whatever works best for you is totally fine. Or, you know, hey, like this, I don't like this type of extension machine. Can I just do whatever? You know what I mean? As long as you're kind of swapping it out for a similar exercise or you're targeting the same area, like, yeah, of course. Like it's not like these are the exercises that are going to get you, you know, that first place or whatever it is. It's just finding what works for you. And I do think that kind of falls into, again, just like there being so much information out there that everyone feels like they have to like, you know what I mean? Like kind of do everything perfectly or to the book, or, you know, hey, he said I have to slow down here in this movement in order to feel my whatever, you know, and I feel like oftentimes that can get a little bit muddied and people put a little too much merit into that versus I'm just going to go in and freaking sling around some weight and figure out like what feels good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like all of our structures are so different too. So it's like, there's so many machines that I'm like too short for.
Yes.
Where like, I just, maybe that machine just doesn't work for me at all. Or I need to put like an extra like back pad on it or something, like so that I actually fit into it. So it's like, there's just so many nuances to it. And it's like, that's just what works for me because I'm so short. Like I don't even fit into this machine. You know what I mean? So you have to like rig it a certain way. So yeah.
There were some, there's a couple, and I don't even know, Martin knows all the names of different machines and like who makes what. There are some leg presses that don't have a low enough rack that I can only unrack with, I have to tiptoe it off.
Yeah.
And then walk my feet up into position. So like, why am I doing 25 reps? Because I can't tiptoe any more plates. So I just have to go up and
it's going to be like way too dangerous to try to do that. If you don't have a spot and then you're like moving your feet down the platform, like, it's not smart. So I feel that.
Or my favorite, and a machine bottoms out way too soon and you're not even getting the stretch that you're trying to get. That's always fun too. Love that.
I fit most things because I'm tall enough to fit most things. Too much adaptation.
A little transition actually, Alexis, because I've always been kind of curious about this, but like the posing side of things. So you're a posing coach, like you said, bikini and wellness. When did that kind of start becoming something that you're like, you know what, I'm really good at this? Because again, it kind of sounded like with training wise, it's hard to tell people like, hey, I do this because of this. So I'm curious to how that translates with being a posing coach. And obviously a lot of the times I'm sure it's virtual too.
Yeah, so most of it's virtual. I've started doing some in person now that I'm in an area where there's more competitors. But I think posing's different for me, I think because of pageants. So like I had very intense structured walking classes and stage presence classes. And like I learned a lot of that terminology and I'm very body aware. So I think I do well with explaining what I'm doing. And like, I took a lot of time to like go through the poses and like think about where are my feet actually placed. And like I took some posing classes when I first started for bikini and wellness. But I learned a lot from just watching YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
And like seeing different options and then playing with it of what looked good on me. So I think just over the years, I've like compiled like a ton of the different positions and like options of way you can get into poses and like ways to explain it. And I think of course, teaching it. I started, I think in 2021, starting teaching bikini and wellness. And over the years, I've learned also because like my clients will push me. So I'll like explain something and it's not happening. Right? Like turn your hips, do this. And then like, I'm just watching and like, that's not occurring. So I'm like, okay, well I have to find a different way to explain this because I'm not there to touch them.
Right.
So just like trial and error over the years. But I think a lot of my strength just comes from the classes that I took way back.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely imagine that pageant work definitely helped with that. And especially like, the biggest thing I feel like for a lot of girls is walking in the heels if they're in a heels division.
Yes.
I wore like heels, I guess, like through high school and stuff like that. But obviously we all know that like that kind of presentation walk is different from just like casually walking down the street, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's like, it honestly comes more naturally for some people than other people.
Yeah.
I've been in heels since my grandma would let me wear them. So like, she only would let me wear wedges for a long time. And then when I was in pageants, I like almost was like grandfathered into wearing stilettos because you had to wear those then. And like, I love them. So like if we're dressing up, I'm wearing heels. I've always worn them, which comes to like, I'm very comfortable in them. I can wear different heights. I'm not afraid that I'm going to wobble. And then I have girls who are like, I played soccer and I've never put heels on in my life. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to wear them around your house. Like literally wash your dishes in them. Like you have to create the comfort there. And then just like, I think a lot of people overthink the whole presentation thing. Like the most important thing with it is coming across as if you're confident. So sometimes like faking it till you make it.
Yeah.
Because if you even watch a lot of like top Olympians in bikini and wellness, if you watch and like break down the technical poses and like how they're moving and stuff, it's not right. But if you look like it's right from like shoulders up, it carries you a long way. So it's like getting out of your head and analyzing every single thing and just doing what you know is supposed to be done. And that comes with practice too.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, the wellness posing has been such a challenge. Like it's been so hard. I feel like women's physique came pretty natural to me for the most part, like especially, I mean, you're not in heels, you're just barefoot, so that makes it a lot easier. And then I don't know, just like the actual poses, like they came fairly natural to me. The wellness, I've been, oh my gosh, like this year I'm finally feeling like, okay, because I've been recording myself nonstop. I feel like that's been helping a lot. And then I'll look at myself and I'm like, that looks a little funny. And then I'll go back and like try to fix it. And like, I've been doing stuff like that a lot more. Last year, I was like, just trying to even figure out the poses, like the front, the side, the back, like, what do I actually just have to do like in the pose? And I found like when I went on stage, I felt pretty comfortable with like just the poses, but all the moving, like, I don't think I was prepared for them to be like, okay, like now from the front pose, like turn around and go to the back. Like I was like, oh wait, but I'm supposed to go into my side pose first. Like, I wasn't like ready for all of the movement that they kind of have you do. So it's definitely been a challenge. It's
feel
a lot.
like all of the divisions, like there's some kind of like the transitions, you want them to be flowy, but like I feel like the emphasis is seriously on bikini and wellness. Like it needs to be model-esque the entire time that you're up there. And I think some of it for me just came from like not knowing any better. Like when I went into my first bikini show, I wasn't quite lean enough. I could have looked differently, but like I didn't know that. So I was like, I look bomb. Like this is the best I've ever looked. And like I think the naive side really helped me because then that like projected me forward, and I felt great when I came off stage the first time, and like I kind of carried that forward. And I didn't get like when I watch the first pro show that I won last year, when I watched that posing video, I'm like, I can see that I'm so self-conscious because I put so much pressure on myself that I need to win the show. I need to qualify. Also, I can't afford to do any more shows. So, like this is all my eggs are in one basket.
Yeah.
But like, I think once you start thinking too much, that's where it starts getting in the way.
Yeah. So with obviously being around a lot of new time posers or new time competitors, would you say that there's any one or couple like common misconceptions when it comes to posing, or some things that you see kind of right out the gate that like, oh, most people usually do XYZ, it really be this way or something?
Everyone thinks they need to be flexing.
Yes.
in bikini and wellness, you're not flexing. And I'm sure like that probably was it a hurdle for you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially because my upper body was already too big.
Yeah. I remember we were trying to like hide it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, because we worked together like right before Texas. I was like, I need some help. Like this is not okay. So yeah, we were trying to figure out how to hide it. But like, yeah, I even on like my walk to the back, like I would watch video and like I would have my like traps like up. Like I just looked so stiff. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I know I wasn't like actively trying to flex, but I looked really stiff. And now I'm trying, while I'm like practicing posing, I'm like trying to like, okay, like hold my arms soft. Like I can have a little bend in my elbow. That's okay. Like I don't need to be like straight out, to the side.
I've
like
always like pressed my delts forward in all of my poses.
Yeah.
I was always super proud of my delts because that's of course what grew first when I first started training. So like, and they lean out first. So I like could always give them shape and like they looked cool to me. So I've always held tension there. And then last year at Miami, Tyler was like, your delts are too big. Don't grow your delts. You need to stop training them. And I wasn't even really training them anymore. So then it was like, I had to learn to like complete limp noodle them. So like hard sitting into my glute, but then my upper body has to be like no tension in it at all. And it's not easy. But like brand new girls are like front pose. And how do I flex my quad? I'm like, because if you do get shredded and there's feathering, now you've got like fourth place because you're too lean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then I'm figuring out too that there's like a difference, like I've always been, I think, especially with dance and then like women's physique too. Like, I mean, it's the posture. Like, of course you want to have good posture in wellness, but like, I think I'm like overdoing it sometimes. Like I'm standing up way too like, and it's like, just relax. Like it doesn't need to be so like uptight. So, yeah.
And I would even say like that kind of borders the line a little bit. And Jess, definitely let me know if you disagree, but like with figure too, like we're not necessarily like, at least I've never been told to like really like sit and squeeze like certain muscle groups. Like, yes, like I guess legs to kind of, but we're not really like stiffening them and like flexing them. You know what I mean? It's
you're just like spreading them almost.
It's kind of like, pushing the hips back to kind of allow someone like the adductor separation to come through or something. You know what I mean? Like it's really a matter of like, I think tweaking the posing to show the physique versus like actually like flexing. And I feel like, because I mean, I'm obviously not a posing coach by any means, but I have some local competitors. And obviously if they're doing figure, I'm like, I can help you obviously figure out the basics, but you may want to hire a posing coach to actually get the full kit and caboodle. But even like there, it's always just like, well, I can't see anything. Like I'm not, and I feel like that's a hard thing to try and convey to somebody of like, well, you need a little more muscle to necessarily see what you're trying to see,
Yeah.
So like I often find that like those new timers are trying so hard to flex because they're like, well, everybody else like has muscle, or like, you know what I mean? Like they must be flexing so hard to have
or they want to like see it right now and they're like nowhere near a prep, so they've just got body fat, and like I need you to just feel what I'm telling you to do and don't look in the mirror. Like don't look for tie-ins, because now you're bending over and mooning everyone. And it's like
posing in the off season's not, not the most fun.
No.
Nobody likes to see themselves really pose in the off season, but
I would say as a posing coach,
Ben, he's behind me. He goes, I don't mind it. Well, all the time.
So are you say, Alexis, would you recommend people are posing, even throughout their off seasons before their prep and everything?
Yeah, I just mainly tell them to focus on what it feels like. So I think the worst bad habits are created in the off season when you're trying to pose around a physique that you're not going to present on stage.
True.
So like just going through the movements, making sure that you're not getting too tight to where you can sit into your side poses, and like you're not bending over in your back pose, and like you're hitting everything with the right angles. And then as you get into a prep, that's where you fine tune things. As you see the physique, as the body comes off, or the body fat comes off, then you can like start tweaking. But if you start tweaking in the off season, no. But if you go your whole off season without really putting your heels on other than check-ins, then when it's time to prep, then you're super rusty and you're like trying to get back into the swing of it rather than being able to like improve from where you left off last.
Yeah, I definitely do better about that and doing more posing in the off season. Even if it's just like you're saying, not necessarily to see anything, obviously, but just to put my heels on and like feel myself in my heels and walk around in them and not feel so clunky or awkward or whatever.
Yeah, and like I'll play with like routine ideas in the off season, because that's a little bit more fun of like different movements and stuff. Because once I get into prep, I do get very critical. Once I can see my physique, but we're not there yet, I'll get into this weird window where I don't want to change anything about my posing. Like I just want to master it perfectly where it's at. So the off season, I'll play with like different transitions and stuff and see if I can figure them out when there's no pressure. Because like I have to be able to master this in 6 weeks, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. It was like us trying to day before the show, like posing session. I'm like, Alexis, please fix me.
And I'll do those sessions, but usually at the beginning, I'm like, I'm not changing everything. Because then it's going to just be worse before it gets better.
You're going to be freaking out.
I know.
Super horrible timing, but continue to keep going. I just have to run to the ladies' room real quick. I'll be right back.
That's funny. So I will ask you your opinion on, okay. When girls are in their side pose, this was like a debate because we have our little like podcast group chat. So I'm like, what do you guys think about this versus this of me and like my side pose? So some girls I see are like really pushing their hip out to the side. Like that, like the back hip is like really low. The other one, when you're like standing and talking to somebody and you're like just really resting on like one side, like that's a lot of people's side pose. But then I see other people like standing fairly tall and like they're not really like sitting into that hip. Is there a correct way, like an actual like correct way, or does it depend on somebody's physique?
I think it depends on how much muscle you have. Typically, like the less glute that you have, the more that you're trying to like shift it towards the edges. I used to do the same thing, but if you do it too much, then you're like, in order to get that position, you start crunching your waist. So then like your waist looks thicker. I think the only people who should be standing straight up are people who are like maxed on muscle.
Okay. That makes sense.
So, like I do, like when I explain it, I hinge into my hip a little bit so that it like projects glute and hamstring. Almost like I say, like you're putting a baby on your hip.
Yeah.
But you're not creating a whole shelf for the baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
So are you still playing with it, Alyssa?
Yeah. I was just asking her about that. I was telling her how I was like putting in the side by sides and the.
I think what helps also is a lot of people when they're shoving their glute out so much, it's because their foot is completely to the side. And if you have your toes like a little bit towards the judges, the rotation of your hips will project for you. So then you're not having to like then also cock your hip out.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of nuanced things, I feel like, especially once you get to this point of, you know, Alyssa, you're trying to win a pro show. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to move up in these ranks and stuff. And I feel like these are where those like true like fine tuning things really matter. Which it doesn't matter earlier on. But Alexis, one of the things that we talked about in one of the previous podcasts was, you know, do you think you need a posing coach for your very first show? Or like the very, like, you know what I mean? Like actually hire out somebody like yourself or one of these other posing coaches that are out there to help you with your posing or to, I don't know, just like get the basics or, I mean, how important do you think that is as a first-time competitor to actually have a posing coach?
I think for the majority, it's pretty important. At least, even if it, like, we all know at the regional level, usually it's not super competitive for most shows. Yeah. So the best physique usually wins, no matter if they're posing as trash or not. But I think it impacts the person's perception of how the show went. Like, even if you win your show, I've had competitors who come to me and they're like, well, I won my last show, but like, I didn't feel good about it. Like, if you don't feel confident on stage, just like getting the first place doesn't usually feel that great anyway. And I think if you have a background in something like cheerleading or dance, you have a lot more body awareness when it comes to like presentation. So I think that makes a big difference with how many sessions you need. Or if you can figure it out enough for your first show, see if you like competing and then invest more going forward. But if you don't have a background in anything and you're just trying to learn it from videos that you're watching, I think it usually doesn't turn out to where you're like, I love this. I think
than anything.
Huh?
I would say I feel like it's more frustration than anything because they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
and I feel like that those kind of things like that, and then hiring like a qualified coach rather than your friend at the gym who said, I can help you, makes a big difference in your perception of bodybuilding. So like, when I hear nightmare stories, sometimes it's just from a bad coaching experience of a coach making bad calls. But I think a lot of times it's like not having anyone to guide you at all, trying to figure it out on your own, not having the resources to do that. And then it's like, bodybuilding sucks. Well, like you didn't really have a great path to get there.
Yeah,
that definitely.
I feel like something like wellness too, or even like bikini, even figure really. I feel like in women's physique, at least you're flexing in a way where like when you're lean and you flex, like it looks cool, even if your posing's not like great.
Yeah.
But in something like wellness, I've found like there's not much to see unless the posing is like
it's a lot of angles.
Like it's not gonna look right. Even like, if you're in the best shape, like if you're not hitting the poses correctly, you're not doing anything that's gonna allow them to see it.
And you're at a disadvantage. Like, it doesn't matter if you expose your waist and you have a tiny waist, but if you have more of a boxy waist and then you're coming straight on in your transition because you can't figure out how to do it otherwise, then you've just exposed yourself. And like, again, like at the very regional level, it probably doesn't make a huge difference, but I think setting up for success is important because then it kind of snowballs because you have the competitor who didn't hire a posing coach, winged it, figured it out enough to win the overall at a regional show. Now they're nationally qualified. Then they go to a national show and their coach is like, you look great. And then they go up there and they get 4th call outs and they're like baffled on what just happened. Well, like you kind of set yourself up for that, not even knowing, or like thinking that it was fine and not getting an opinion in that specific area. Like I think I'll have someone look at my posing videos like once or twice in a prep at this point. And just like, does this look good? Mostly on like, does the routine look good? Am I does this side pose look better than this as far as what I'm putting together? Do you have any suggestions? But like at the beginning, I think you do need at least some like structured, formal classes to make sure you're going through everything and like fine tuning, especially for people who are trying to like earn a pro card and turn pro and go through the pro circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you are what you invest into it, and I'm sure we've all said that in some way or fashion at some point throughout this.
Yeah,
you know?
And I've never like gotten the whole like. I know that there's some people who really have a lot of pride in the like self-made thing, where they're like either completely self-coached forever or have only ever done their own posing. Like,
okay,
win. And like, didn't have that accolade. That just, it's not appealing to me.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reward in that. You know what I mean? No one's going to pat you on the back when you're like, hey, I got here without a coach. You know, it's going to be more like, well, could you have done better if you had a coach? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, unless you like completely soar, then it's like, I guess it can be rewarding for yourself, but
yeah. So long and short, unless you have some rhythm about you, coach. Even if, I'm sure you might agree too, like even if it's just for like a few sessions, or obviously depends on, you know, how many sessions somebody needs, but even just to get the basics down of like, no, like you don't want to be, like you're saying, like really pushing your hip out. You really just have to do this. And then, you know, hopefully for somebody, it might be like, oh, like, okay, that makes sense. Like that's, all, you know, I know that we had put out like a little questionnaire or like a little questions box or whatever on Instagram. Did anybody get any good questions that they want to throw out there to kind of wrap it up, or quick fire questions? I know, Alyssa, you had one or two that somebody had.
There were a couple. I just don't know. Are you on like a laptop or on your computer?
I'm on my computer. Yeah, I can go to the.
Okay. Yeah, can you go to the screenshot that I sent you? Because I'm on my phone. I think if I exit out of this to look at the picture, it's gonna go away. Because I did get a couple.
So then we talked about, honestly, one of them, which was the mindset when your partner and your timeline are off to and prep him in off season. I think we actually did quite a bit of that. But the second one was, what is your favorite compound for glutes in isolation, and explain why? Alexis, I don't know, whatever feels good.
I mean, like now probably hip thrusts. For a long time, I couldn't figure out where to place my feet and get it out of quads because I'm very quad dominant. And my glutes are my weakest area. So that's what we've really focused on since the Olympia, is bringing my glutes up. And I've done a lot of hip thrusts and then a lot of hip press, like unilaterally with my foot like high and wide and turned out. And that's helped a lot. But mainly like making sure that I'm focusing on the stretch has been significant for this off season. I think we've made some decent progress. And that's not something that I was doing before. But those two movements I feel the most isolation with.
Nice. Are you doing like a lot of holds or pauses? Or is it just kind of like slow negatives, or just really
more slow, like slow tempo. I used to like spring out of the bottom on everything because I just wanted to move weight. So I don't do that anymore, but I don't specifically pause other than with barbell squats, but because otherwise my quads will just take over. So I have to like think about using my glutes to get out of the hole.
Yeah. See, I find that funny sometimes. I feel like a lot of my leg movements, I've driven a lot with my glutes. You know what I mean? Glutes,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny because like, you know, you go back to the discussion we had earlier about like each of us doing things differently, and it's like if I go too deep on a like a hack squat or a leg press, it moves to my glutes, and then the movement is just all glutes from there. But if I pause, then I can get it back into my quads.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Because I don't hack squat at all. Like I don't even try them anymore. Because it's just knees and quads for me, and I don't need any more quads.
Yeah.
But I think I'm also like, some of it's, I'm too short for most of them. So they bottom out before I actually get what I need out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of people have like a glute strength or a hamstring strength, but not both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I definitely have been trying more to actually, you know, target the quads or whatever, like really focus on quads. Cause I feel like, again, for a lot of my training, like earlier on, it's always like, I've just always driven with my glutes.
Yeah.
You know, just been more glute dominant for any leg day. It's taken a lot to like actually, you know, slow down the movement and like, okay, no, like push my quad or, you know, push my hip back or whatever to really engage my quad or something. So, a game changer for me anyways in my leg days. But yeah, and then there's one actually that Jess and I were chatting about, might be a fun one to kind of end things on, would be like a fuck, marry, kill. And let's see where it went. This is a very spicy one, but marry, kill, post-lip endorphin rush, post-sex glow, or post-cheat meal food coma.
Oh.
And we can maybe post-show day, like that, just you've had like what you've been dying to have for like the entire prep or whatever.
Okay, this is an easy one for me.
Okay. Why don't you start then, since this is a breeze? Yeah.
I can kill the food coma. I just, you guys know, I don't want to go overeat. I don't want to feel full. Like I don't need any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Marry the post-workout endorphin rush. I love a good post-workout endorphin rush. I will just yap and yap and yap.
Yeah.
And then marry or
fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I feel like for me, it would be. I kind of am going between.
This is hard.
This is actually kind of hard for at least like the kill. I guess I would kill. Oh no. I guess just by default, it would be the post-cheat meal food coma, but I genuinely do enjoy, again, like that post, so like whether it's like a bowl of fruit, because I've been freaking dehydrated and just like some juicy fruit is delicious, or like a fucking Gatorade or something. Like those are always like just things that I love after a show. But with the other options, that's probably going to have to go. And then probably opposite of Jess, fuck the post-lift endorphin rush, and then marry the post-sex.
Yeah, that's the order that I would do also.
Yeah, you guys are happily wed, so I can.
Yeah. I feel like that's mine too.
I don't like a food coma at all.
No,
yeah.
No.
I guess not more or less like a food coma, because those suck, especially like those first initial like competing days of just like eating yourself so full to the point of like wanting to cut your stomach open. Like it's that bad. But I will say, like after Thanksgiving, like that just kind of turkey, hazy, like I've had some warm Thanksgiving food and now I'm all cozied up. Like that kind of, I enjoyed that feeling, I guess. But
See, when I overeat like that, even for Thanksgiving and like Christmas, I get watery almost immediately. Like once I've eaten too many things that like are going to take forever to digest or like just overloaded my stomach, and water makes me a psycho.
Yeah.
Like holding it under my skin just makes me a lunatic. So
Yeah.
I just have to avoid it.
That is so funny that you say that, because I'm kind of similar to that. Like I will, like my rings, like I judge, like literally I'll like wake up and I'm like, oh, they're sliding. Even now I'm like, up, sliding off easy. I'm good.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm not holding a ton of water, but there's other days where like it will not move over my knuckle, and I'm like so annoyed by that.
Yeah.
So
then I'm like pounding water and making sure I'm just moving.
Yeah.
So that it starts flushing.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I'm the same way. I can't stand when I'm holding water. It's the worst.
I'm
like, one day whenever I'm pregnant, like I feel like that's just gonna be the freaking worst ever for me. I hope no. I should be positive about it, but you know, I feel like I'm gonna be a water buffalo.
Yeah. Super uncomfy. Fun. Okay. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your ladies' times. I know it is getting later, about an hour 40. Again, actually a pretty good lengthy podcast. But again, thank you so much, Alexis, for coming on. You know, you are certainly someone that I followed for quite a few years. So it's really cool to get you on here and just kind of casually chat and just kind of hear more about you and what you've done competitively, and finally getting a wellness girl on here for Alyssa. You never had either women's physique or figure, so it's cool to get somebody else from a different realm of bodybuilding in here and kind of chatting more about that side of it too. So
yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plug real quick, or code?
I suck at this so bad.
Do it because I see it. And like that's what people do. Like, hey, throw your code out there. Or what do you want to like shout out or whatever? But I think that's fine too.
I don't think I have anything.
Real quick though, actually, what is your what show are you gonna be getting ready for? What are you doing?
We are shooting for Tampa in Texas.
Ooh, yay! I think are we all gonna be in Tampa? Well,
everybody, I think. Maybe aside from Jessica, unless she makes no.
I mean, I doubt it. Never seen.
Well, you should, but I understand.
Well, I'll chip in for your plane ticket.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
That will be fun. So that's very exciting, Alexis. So we know now that Hunter is doing Tampa. Obviously, Alyssa and Ben are in Tampa. And Michael's shooting for Tampa. Hopefully I think we'll get there. I think where the trajectory is heading, like we'll be good for Tampa. And likely doing Texas, or definitely doing Texas after that too. So
cool.
Yeah.
Texas though. Texas isn't out of the picture. So
okay, cool. Well, that'll be a good one then. Honestly, I feel like Texas is always like the yeehaw, giddy up, exciting, like everyone's stoked.
Yeah, I've wanted to do it like the last several years and the timing just didn't work. But now that it does and we live here, like
it's perfect.
Gotta do it. Yeah.
Exciting. All right. So everyone watching for Alexis coming up like 15, 16 weeks or so. Super exciting. We'll be looking out for those updates. But I would say this is a good conclusion, and I hope you ladies have a wonderful Saturday evening.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Bye.
Baby,